Welcome, fellow horror hounds, and welcome to the latest episode of Talk and Stalk, your unholy home for horror. I'm your host, as always, Barry, and today's podcast is really just going to be me talking and ranking the killers from the Scream franchise. Now, I'm actually going to be omitting the TV series here. This is just going to be focused on the movie franchise, of course, consisting of 4 films. We are actually getting the 5th movie January next year. Very much looking forward to that. But yeah, the 7 people that have actually donned the Ghostface costume. Now, it's really weird, really, because Ghostface has almost become that the costume has become so iconic that Ghostface has actually almost become a character in his own right. And yet, it's actually 7 different people that have actually wore that costume. So we've actually had different killers, and yet Ghostface has become kind of a horror icon. So when you see like these listings online of who would win, so and so versus Ghostface, I'm like, well, who's the killer, who's wearing the costume? So I'm just going to be kind of ranking each of the killers from these 7 films. Now obviously there are going to be spoilers. I'm hoping that everyone listening to this has seen all 4 Scream films. I'm gonna get the ball rolling now. In the bottom place is Charlie Walker from Scream 4, played by Rory Culkin, of course, Macaulay Culkin's younger brother. Charlie Walker is kind of the film geek, the kind of Randy, if you will, of Scream 4, just really without the charisma. Overall, he's a pretty unmemorable character, in all fairness. And I think much like kind of Stu Maca, he's doing it for kind of the thrill of it, I suppose. We never really get any kind of clear motivations as to why he's actually doing this, etc. Obviously, it comes, I suppose, as a little bit of a twist near the end. Although I'm sure probably some people saw it coming, where he's tied to the chair, and it turns out he's actually one of the killers. Just Charlie Walker, yeah, he's the film geek, runs the kind of the film club after school hours. Just kind of unmemorable as a character. We don't really get any kind of clear motivation or anything like that. He's just kind of going along with it. He clearly must just like the thrill of it, etc. Charlie Walker would be at the bottom. Now, in 6th place would be Roman Bridger, who, of course, in a big twist, turns out to be the brother of Sidney Prescott. The problem I have with this reveal, okay, there's a level of kind of intensity towards the end, okay, and we kind of get his motivations, I kind of get all that, but at the same time, it lessens the impact of the first movie. It is notable as well that Roman Bridger supposedly is the one and only killer in Scream 3. That he did all this single-handedly, which I actually find near impossible to believe. I can't believe that one person was able to achieve all that, but never mind, it's a horror movie. We have to kind of suspend belief. Roman Bridger, obviously the brother of Sidney Prescott, and he's obviously, I get the motivations there. He feels deprived of the life that he should have had, blah, blah, and his mum didn't want him, blah, blah, and all that. The problem I have with it really lessens what Stu and Billy did in the first film. So basically, he's the orchestrator. He's the one that essentially directed it. He's the one that made... So these murders in the first Scream, wouldn't have happened. Maureen Prescott would not have been killed if it wasn't for Roman Bridger. It's the kind of problem I have. Now, I understand they're trying to steer the franchise in kind of a new direction and stuff and kind of expand on it, etc. It's just one that I think Roman Bridger did kind of like really well in kind of the last act of the film. Building up to that, Roman Bridger to me was just kind of a throwaway kind of character, really. Not particularly memorable until kind of the last scene. I just don't like the fact that it kind of lessens the first movie and what Stu and Billy did. In 5th place here. Now, this was tough. I was very, very torn between fourth and 5th place for these 2 characters. So it's actually going to go to Mickey, um, which I kind of feel bad for saying because Mickey. I think Timothy Oliphant did a great job. I think I would have liked to have seen a bit more of Mickey in Scream 2. I mean, he certainly has a fair few scenes in that. Um, to be honest, I was surprised actually because he's one of them characters that you don't actually see much of in the final act of the film. And in a way, you kind of forget about him almost. He's one of Sidney's new friends. He obviously plays a part in the film, etc. Um, but I thought he was great in the final act. Certainly, I think he kind of knocked it out of the park. And the fact that he actually planted doubt into Sidney's mind that Derek, who I think for a lot of people was probably one of the prime suspects in the movie of being the killer, if that was the case, Jesus, she really has a hard time picking boyfriends, don't she? Sidney Prescott. I thought Timothy Oliphant was great. I kind of get the whole motivation and stuff as well. He's clearly, I mean, it makes a lot of commentary and stuff, doesn't it, on the world we live in. There are people out there that just want to become famous and they kill. You know, notoriety, and fame are pretty much one and the same for some people. You know, and he's going to blame it on the movies, etc., which has been done before. You know, films and video games and whatever. But no, I like the reveal as well, and the fact of I'll admit I was kind of guessing. I think for me, Cotton Weary, Lev Schreiber, was actually one of the prime suspects for me in Scream 2 when I watched it for the first time. I almost kind of forgot about Mickey as the film went on. Even though he's great in the film, it's just he doesn't get a huge amount of scenes, you see. So yeah, but yeah, I like the fact that he's playing that whole, as I said, kind of like the age we're living in. People blame movies for this and that, and etc. And I think he really does kind of knock it out the park at the end of the movie. Now, in fourth spot would actually be Mrs. Loomis for me. Sorry, not Mrs. Loomis. It's sorry, Mrs. Loomis. I had a bit of a brain freeze there. Billy's mother, of course. Big twist reveal, I found. I thought that was a really big twist reveal. I did not see that coming. Under the name of Debbie Salt, it turns out, yep, she's Billy's mum. A great little nod to kind of Mrs. Voorhees from Friday the 13th, except, taking revenge, etc. She's clearly gone a bit wacko, and she's blaming, good old-fashioned revenge. She's blaming Sidney on the fallout of her relationship. Her husband left her because of her mum. And she killed, not only did her mum steal her husband, but she actually killed her psychopathic son as well. How dare she? What I love about this is just the unexpected twist of it. I really didn't see coming, and a mother wanting to get revenge, etc. I was very torn though between her and Mickey. And I think Mickey firmly did a lot of the killing. She kind of guided him in the right direction, if you will. I mean, we do definitively know that she actually killed Randy, in which I thought was quite a gut punch of a moment, actually, in Scream 2. Certainly one of the most memorable deaths in the whole franchise. I think Randy's death, which kind of comes out of nowhere. You don't kind of see coming, and that she did that. And she found, obviously, Mickey on the internet, and led him on the right path or the wrong path, if you will. I kind of like the encounter at the end of the film. I think there's great kind of interactions and stuff between her and Sidney. Even with like Mickey, I love, for example, one interaction they have where she says, "You're forgetting something about Billy Loomis," and it's like, "What?" He goes, "I fucking killed him," and then attacks him. I love it. Mrs. Loomis. The reason I had a brain freeze there was I had Mrs. Voorhees on my brain for some reason. I nearly said Mrs. Voorhees, but it's clearly, this whole kind of twist is clearly a nod, a great kind of nod, if you will. And I thought it was a really good twist, an unexpected one. Now, in third place, again, I was quite torn between two characters for this spot. Very, very torn. But I'm going to say Jill Roberts, played by Emma Roberts in Scream 4. The motivation for this is really quite twisted. And it's really the motivation behind all this that really has her so high up on this list. She's doing this for fame. She's doing this. She wants to become the new Sidney Prescott. She wants to become the victim that the media is focused on, etc., which is really messed up. I'll be honest, a bit of a twist I didn't quite tell. She wasn't really a suspect of mine when I first watched it. I didn't really think her. Again, she does kind of disappear towards the last act of the movie. I'm not saying that you completely forget about her, but she does kind of pull a vanishing act. I think one of the prime suspects of the film, and kind of an obvious candidate, if you will, is her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was certainly a suspect in this movie, who, of course, gets killed. But the fact that, there's kind of a connection to Sidney Prescott, just the motivations, the whole scene towards the end where she's actually, really busting herself up against the wall through the glass coffee table, just like, what the hell? And excuse my language, she's a right evil little bitch. To me, of Scream 4, she's hands down the more memorable of the two killers. Jill Roberts. Sorry, I forgot her surname. Brain freeze. Jill Roberts. Emma Roberts. Great actress. Love her. For anyone that hasn't watched Scream Queens, I would highly recommend watching that. I think Scream Queens is great fun. Certainly pays a lot of nods to the horror genre as a whole. Doesn't take itself seriously. She is absolutely brilliant in that. She's certainly one of the standout, if not the standout character in that show. So, now second place. Again, quite tough. Stu Maca. Brilliantly played by Matthew Lillard. I mean, the last act of this film, it's just fantastic. He just knocks it out of the park. There was a lot of improv actually going on in the last scene. I love the interactions between him and Sidney. I always had a thing for you, Sid, in your dreams. Just great stuff. I'm feeling a little woozy here. My mum and dad are going to be so mad at me. There's a lot of improv. He hit me with a phone, Dick. In that last act, certainly, Matthew Lillard just seriously goes balls to the wall, and it's great. And it's scary. He's a very kind of goofy character. He's funny, okay? He's really funny. Matthew Lillard's great in that role. But if you think about it at its core, it's quite scary. He's got no real motivation to be doing this. He's doing it clearly because he likes it. He loves it. And just probably clearly watches a lot of horror movies, and he's just doing it, going along with Billy and stuff. And he's obviously probably got a taste for killing, and it really is quite scary when you think about it at the core, because there's no kind of direct motive. There's no seeable motive, and he's actually clearly shocked at the end of the movie when Billy gives his motives, and you can actually see that look of shock. Billy, Stu's as if to say, "Wow, I didn't know that. So what the hell's Stu in it for?" He's great, and to be honest, I was very torn between him and the first pick on this list. So obviously, process of elimination, we all know who's the final pick on here, and that of course is Skeet Ulrich, Billy Loomis, which I love his name, by the way. Great nod to obviously Dr. Sam Loomis from Halloween, and of course Dr. Sam Loomis is obviously a nod to Sam Loomis from the original 1960 Psycho. He of course was Marion Crane's boyfriend. Billy Loomis, the boyfriend, the kind of obvious suspect, if you will. It looks too obvious, doesn't it? Because, it's not too far into the film, all the fingers point towards him. You think, no, it's way too obvious. Way too obvious. And then, of course, we're believed to be killed off by Ghostface, whoever Ghostface is. And then, of course, oh no, it's not Billy Loomis. What a twist. How great was that? I'll be honest, I didn't see it coming. I thought it was a neat little twist of there being two killers, which, of course, 3 of the 4 films have utilised now. I think we're at the point now where we kind of expect two killers now. We're kind of looking out for it, two killers now, but when the first film came out, we didn't. It was an unexpected twist. What I like about Billy Loomis, Skeet Ulrich, he really brings that kind of suaveness. He brings that kind of mystique to it. He's obviously a good-looking guy. And obviously he's got more film knowledge than people give him credit for, because he actually quotes, he comes out with quite a few film quotes and whatnot in that film, and he's a little more into horror movies than you probably first realise. Because let's face it, going into Scream, Randy would kind of be your obvious suspect. He's the film geek, knows all about horror movies, etc. But Billy Loomis, the motivations behind this, again, him and Matthew Lillard just play off each other so damn well at the end of that movie. I mean, it really is messed up. They're obviously going to look like the survivors. They're going to stay around and plan the sequel because, as Stu said, these days you got to have a sequel. Yeah, but it's, I can understand the motivation of the revenge here as well, which again kind of comes out towards the end of the movie, takes quite a bit of a dark twist, where it turns out that his dad was actually sleeping with Sidney's mum. And Cotton Weary's an innocent man. Cotton Weary was in fact framed. And Billy and Stu actually framed Cotton Weary. So yeah, he's clearly out for revenge, but at the same time, this is more than just a little bit of revenge. This is a guy that's obviously on a killing spree, and I do believe it was actually Billy that killed Tatum in the garage door as well. Obviously, he was outside the house and he comes in, and you can actually notice it between the two. There's little interactions within the film between Stu and Billy, like little looks and glances as to say, yeah, there's something going on, and you might not notice it upon a first time viewing. I mean, I'll admit I did, but at the same time, as soon as that scene happened with Billy being supposedly killed, I was like, no, that's it then. I was wrong. I think Dewey was even a suspect in the first film. But let's face it, Dewey's really in there for kind of comedic effect now, isn't he? He's harder to kill than Jason and Michael Myers combined. But I think with the two, Skeet Ulrich's Billy Loomis was very much, I think, kind of the brains of the operation, the kind of smooth operator, if you will. I think he was the one that was really kind of probably doing a lot of the telephone calls. I think he was the one probably doing the calls. Certainly in the first act, which, the opening with Casey Becker being killed, which is great. I mean, it's a fantastic opening, which is obviously a great nod to When a Stranger Calls, and I just love the movie homages, the references that are made in that opening. I do believe that was him on the telephone. I mean, it just kind of make you question, though, with Stu. Was Stu involved in the first killing? Because, Tatum, his girlfriend, actually says that he was with her all night. So did Billy do that all alone? Because I find that quite hard to believe. To me, there was going to be two killers in that scene. So you'd assume both of them were present in that scene, but at the same time, she actually says, unless Tatum is lying, or he snuck out somehow, or whatever. But yeah, I just think Skeet Ulrich's performance is great. Him and Matthew Lillard as a double act in the end is great. But the reason I'm putting him above is it's just that character. It's just a kind of air of mystique to him. But all in all, I would say Stu probably has the scarier kind of motive, or lack of motive, should I say, because he isn't really doing it for any justifiable... I'm not saying there's ever a justifiable reason to actually go out and kill someone. There isn't. But you could understand if there's some kind of motivations, if you've got some much deep-seated angst against someone, etc. But yeah, Billy Loomis is my pick for number one. Very, very, very closely followed by Stu Maca. And as I said, Jill, simply for her motivations behind this massacre, is just, I actually think, probably the most messed up, of any killer's motivations within this franchise. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks a lot to everyone that listened, and I'll be back again soon. Take care.